Thank you all for being here this evening for our webinar on Arts Mid North Coast's SEED Grants program, which is now open for applications. My name is Olivia Parker and I am the Executive Director at Arts Mid North Coast. And we also have online Sky Peto, who's our Program and Partnerships Manager. Before I begin, I will start by acknowledging that we are meeting on unceded Aboriginal lands. I'm very privileged to be living here on Gumbaynggirr country in the Nambucca and pay respects to the traditional custodians who have looked after this country for millennia, and would like to extend that acknowledgement to the countries that you're all on this evening and the custodians, and also to any First Nations colleagues with us here this evening. Please feel free to if you'd like to do an acknowledgement and let us know the country that you're on, you can type it in the chats. It's always really lovely to hear where everyone else is from. So, an overview of the presentation this evening. I will start with a little bit of an intro on Arts Mid North Coast, who we are and what we do, and then I'll go into the SEED Grants program that we are running. I'll take you through the objectives and the priorities and the eligibility criteria, the types of projects we are looking for and what you can apply for, the assessment criteria, and we'll then finish with some grant writing tips to help you with your application. And throughout the presentation, you will also see images from previous applicants that we have funded, which will give you an idea of the range of projects that can be supported through the program. So a little bit about us. Arts Mid North Coast is a regional arts development organisation, and we work to provide opportunities for regional artists and creative industry development, to encourage community participation and engagement in the arts, and raise awareness of our region's creativity and culture. And we also advocate for artists and the creative sector and provide direct policy input to all levels of government to make sure that our sector in our region is represented. We are part of a network of 15 RADOs across the state, and we are all supported by the New South Wales Government through Create New South Wales and also our local council members. So for the Mid North Coast, our member councils include Coffs Harbour, Bellingen, Nambucca, Kempsey and Port Macquarie Hastings. And if you would like to know more about what we do, our services and our programs, you can find a lot of information on our website, artsmidnorthcoast.com. You'll see there are a lot of resources there, such as a free events calendar that you can submit your events to, directory listings, news opportunities, and also encourage you to sign up for our monthly newsletter to stay informed on our projects and programs that we run throughout the year. So I'll now move on to our SEED grants. So as I mentioned, this is now open and the closing date is on the 24th of July. We used to have a devolved funding program called Country Arts Support Program, or CASP, which is an annual small grants program that we administered on behalf of Create New South Wales. There have been some changes in the devolved funding from Create New South Wales, who are no longer managing that. So we have moved it in-house, and hence it's now called SEED grants. However, they are still very similar, for locally led arts and community projects. They are small grants program, and you can apply from 500 up to 2,500. And they are for projects starting after the 1st of September and must be completed by 31st of August in 2027. So in a nutshell, we're looking at projects led by local artists, community groups and cultural organisations that involve local engagement and participation in arts and cultural experiences. So the objectives of our seed grants, we want to see the projects that stimulate creative activity across the region. We provide accessible funding opportunities. We want to support artist-led and community-connected projects, foster inclusive and place-based arts practice, and to build capacity and visibility within the regional creative sector. So with the priorities that we are looking at, these are the priorities that are in alignment with Arts Mid North Coast strategic plan. And we have 4 pillars that we are looking at when we assess the seed applications. So we are looking for projects that align with any one or more of these priorities. So number 1, capacity building and professional development. So if you're developing skills, networks, or your career pathways, but also skills and networks of communities as well. It's for artists at any stage of your practice, and it's also looking at strengthening the project delivery and capacity. Activation of creative spaces. Use of non-traditional spaces. It can be local halls, or it can be an outdoor space, public art, pop-ups. Really, we want to see arts and culture being brought into everyday community settings. Community engagement. We're looking for projects that involve local communities who are actively participating, projects that build connection and identity and cultural life, and also events that are or projects that are accessible and inclusive. Diversity and inclusion. We would have a strong encouragement for projects that are being led by or engaging First Nations artists and communities, young people, culturally and linguistically diverse communities, and people with disability. So we're now into the eligibility criteria. So who can apply? The applications are open to individuals, so you can be a sole trader, groups, not-for-profit organisations and Aboriginal corporations. You must have an ABN and public liability insurance. If you don't have insurance, there will be a tick box when you do your application that you will get insurance if you are successful before you start your project. If you are a group who is not a formalised group and you don't have an ABN, you can also choose to have your application auspiced, which means that you will apply through an organisation. Usually it's a not-for-profit organisation, or it could be a neighbourhood centre, who will apply on your behalf, which will mean that you will be using their ABN and also their public liability insurance for your application. Your project and the outcomes must be based in one of our member regions, which is Port Macquarie, Kempsey, Nambucca, Bellingen, or Coffs Harbour LGAs. So your application must involve some kind of arts and cultural experience in there, and it can be any art form. So First Nations arts, visual arts, craft design, music, dance, theatre, literature, digital or screen, museums, heritage, or it can be any combination of one or more of these different art forms. If your project involves First Nations arts, you will need to be aware of the New South Wales Aboriginal Art and Cultural Protocols, And these protocols are in place to protect First Nations arts and culture, and also to provide direction on the right way to work with Aboriginal people and communities. So some examples of activities that you can apply for and that we have funded in the past, workshops that involve diverse community groups, arts activities that are part of a larger event or festival, an activation of halls for events and arts activities, artist in residency programs, public art and design projects, performances, exhibitions, and any other local arts initiatives that may not come under these types of activities. The types of expenses that you can apply for. What we are prioritising are artist fees, so payment of artists at industry rates. You can look for the industry rates through NAVA, which is the National Association for Visual Arts, or there's also the Live Performance Awards as well. For music, there is a minimum fee of $250 per musician. Also, if you, there are also rates for cultural consultants as well if you are working with First Nations arts. You can apply for travel and accommodation costs, venue hire, marketing or advertising, workshop materials and production costs. So, for example, our PA hire or mounting an exhibition. So what we cannot fund are things like core equipment. So if you are a ceramicist, for example, buying a kiln, or if you need to buy a new guitar. However, you can apply for art materials that will be used in the project. So for example, if you're running a workshop, and you need to, purchase art materials that will be consumed during that workshop, you can apply for those. Capital and building expenses, so shop fit outs, business startups, if you need to refurbish a space, you cannot apply for those expenses. We can't use grants for prize money or fundraising activities. Applicants who have already received funding for the same activities. So if you have already got a Create New South Wales grant, you can't apply for this grant to cover the same activities. Projects must have a community outcome, and that's a community outcome in one of our LGAs. We can't fund any loan repayments or any ongoing operating expenses such as your utilities bills. And we also can't back pay anything that has already been expended or incurred. So projects that have already commenced, we can only pay for any expenses that start after 1st of September. Programs that are already happening, so if it's a regular program that's already happening in the community and you want to subsidise that program, we really want to prioritise new programs that aren't happening, and activities that are part of a course or a school curriculum. And this includes projects that are delivered in only one school for one cohort, and it's only available to students of that school. We want to see projects that are open to the community and that are inclusive and accessible. The applications will be assessed by a panel, which includes staff and board members of Arts Mid North Coast. And when we are looking at the applications, we will be assessing against these criteria. So the first criteria is artistic and cultural merit. We'll be looking at the strength and the originality of your idea or your project. Is it something new? It's not a regular program that's already being delivered. And also, how relevant is it to the local needs? We want to see alignment with any one or more of those strategic priority areas that I outlined earlier on. We also want to see community connection. So the quality of engagement, how actively your community engages participants and audiences, how much consultation has been done to show that your project is supported. And we also want to see inclusivity and accessibility. Viability, so how well planned is your project? Have you got a good understanding of what's involved in its delivery? Is your budget realistic? Is it appropriate? And also, what is the capacity of the applicant? Have you delivered projects like this before? And we will look at those rates of pay as well. Are you paying artists appropriately? And what's the likelihood that you'll be able to deliver this project? And then the development and impact. So what are the broader benefits to both the applicant and the community, and looking at those longer term outcomes. And now for some quick grant writing tips. So you will need to submit your application online through Jotform, and you will need to create an account. You do have the ability to save as you go, but when I write a grant, it's always good to have something, an outline of your project on a Word document, so that you've got your document there in case you do lose your application. So start off with writing down your who, what, when, where, and how and why. And this will really help you when you're filling out the form, because essentially these are all the questions that you're going to be asked. How does it meet the grant objectives? So be really familiar with the priorities that we mentioned earlier with the grant priorities, and have try and align your project with those objectives. You will be, there will be a section where you can include supporting material. So that includes supporting letters it might be from previous workshop participants that you've had. It might be from a community group that you've worked with before, or it might be from an artist that that will be part of the project. So as many letters of support to include with your material, but also include a bit of information about yourself as the applicant, and any supporting images that you can also attach to give the assessor that more of a story about who you are and that your capacity to deliver this project. Another one that sometimes can get tricky is the budget side of things. So there will be a Excel template that you will have to download and complete as part of your application. And we've tried to make it very simple with the types of expenses that. Sorry, I need a drink. For your project. And when we say balance your budget, what that means is that your income has to equal your expenditure. So it's not a profit-making exercise, and we want to see those budgets being balanced. And as much as possible, if there are other sources of income that you can also include. Income doesn't necessarily need to be cash. You can provide in-kind support. So, for example, if you've got a community group that might be providing some catering, what would the value of that in-kind support be? Or it could be some volunteers providing their time. So we would like to, as much as possible, see that you have other sources of income. We realise it's not a huge grant. You can charge for tickets. So if you're running an event or a workshop, you can include their income from ticket sales as part of your budget. And don't leave support letters until last. Sometimes it can be hard trying to get these all together in time. So if you are asking to be auspiced, or if you you've got those supporting letters from community groups, try and get them early on in the piece, because people are busy, and sometimes if you leave it too late, that it might not get in on time. And that then is the end of our presentation. And because we have a small group, and we can answer your questions as if you've got any.